Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. What'd you think of Pat?
He was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the math part too.
The funny thing is, I was reading through your bio and I was like, oh, I should just have him come ask. You got a math session here and everybody would really enjoy that.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
All right. So, Azamina, I'm going to give kind of a brief background to our student athletes who are on there. And then we're going to just kind of go from there and see what happens. So, Azamina was a 4-year swimmer for Baruch College and was awarded the 2019 2020 City University of New York Athletic Conference Scholar Athlete of the Year Award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you are a 3-time CUNYAC All-Star with a bachelor's degree in mathematics and a minor in philosophy and interdisciplinary studies. You graduated from Baruch with a GPA of 3.7. And in the fall, you will be attending the University of Connecticut, pursuing your PhD, correct?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to kind of elaborate on or with your kind of past to kind of share with our students?
Mm,
Pretty good job there.
no, you did a pretty good job. That was pretty much it.
All right, so I'm going to just jump right into some questions here. So the first one is you have 2 theses published. I don't know if I said that right, both on number theories. Talk to me about your experience doing this type of research.
Okay. Yeah, so they're actually papers. We don't call them theses. They're just research papers. But I always knew I wanted to do math. And then in high school, I kind of figured out I knew I wanted to work in number theory, which is the field of math I do. And doing research is totally different than anything
Mm-hmm.
you kind of learn or see in high school and even in your college classes as well. So it was pretty difficult because they kind of just throw a bunch of research papers at you and they're like, oh, you have to learn all this on your own. And then you kind of have to formulate a research question and do the research. But that same kind of competitiveness that I have in sports kind of came out and it was like challenge accepted. And so it was worth it. It was difficult, but it was worth it. And then I also wanted to mention for any of the people here who are
Great.
interested in research, the RUs that I did, they're called Research Experience for Undergraduates. They're funded by the NSF, and you can look for opportunities online. I know they definitely exist for STEM, but for those students who might have a difficult time accessing research at their own CUNY, they can definitely apply to those. They're competitive, but it's really great research experience, especially if you want to pursue higher education.
Great. So how difficult was the transition from going to school for a few months to distance learning with all of this going on and you're wrapping up and like uh, talk to us a little bit about that.
So it was definitely difficult because it's harder to pay attention at home and just online for some reason. I guess you don't have the teacher there, so I guess you don't feel the need to be paying attention the whole time. I also have 3 younger siblings at home, so it was pretty chaotic and, you know, but I guess my advice would be similar to what Patrick was saying in the sense of adding structure. So the way I kind of am planning on approaching it, because I'm also going to be a student this fall as well, is kind of thinking of school as like a 9 to 5 job where you kind of set some time frame for yourself and you plan on, doing your classes, doing your homework within that time frame, and then maybe outside of the time frame you can relax or just talk with friends because it's important to give yourself a break. But I think now that everything's online, it's especially important to do your homework because that's like more time to study the material and stuff. Whereas, I mean, I always do my homework even when classes in person, but for those of you who don't do it in person, then now it's really important to do it. And I think asking questions is also really important right now. If there's something you don't understand, It's kind of intimidating, I guess, to ask online. I don't really like talking online with my class or anything, but it's definitely worth reaching out to professors now or classmates if you have any questions. So definitely don't be shy now. So yeah, that's my advice for the online stuff.
All right, good. So you took away my next question because I was going to ask for advice that you would give some undergraduate students who are trying to manage that, the academic environment now in their home. Would there be anything else that you would suggest? Any tips that you use that would be
Yeah,
in the
so
fall?
I guess looking for other resources definitely helps. So like for math, since Patrick talked about math as well, like if you're in a math class and you're kind of lost, there's a bunch of resources online that you can just search for. So if you're not really getting enough from your online course, you can look for maybe supplementary online courses to get some extra material. Maybe the way that another professor teaches it is better for the way you learn. In terms of motivating yourself, because I know self-motivation is hard with things online, I guess my advice would be to think about your long-term goals or what you want to get out of school. So for me, sometimes what drives me is I'm in certain classes that I've enrolled in because I either have to or I want to. And for those courses, I kind of think to myself, I really want to learn this material. I really need to focus, or this class is going to help me from what I want to do in the future, and kind of just think about that and then motivate yourself to pay attention and do the work and stuff like that.
Great. So like with such a crazy schedule and like full of commitments, what is a typical day look like for you?
Like now or when we were in person?
Let's go in person because you've kind of
Yeah.
looks like virtually.
So my days are pretty crazy because I usually take about 6 to 7 classes a semester. So that's like 18 to 21 credits. So I have class pretty much Monday through Friday. And I have class, I'm probably at school from like 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I'll probably have a class or two. And then my classes are either an hour 15 minutes or an hour 40 minutes. So I'll have class and then I'll have practice, which we swim for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then I'll have another class. And then I might have like an hour break between two classes or an hour and a half. And whenever I have a break that's an hour or longer, I go to the gym to get my gym time in. And
Okay.
then I'll go back to my last class. And then I'll just come home exhausted, shower, eat, and then just do as much homework as I can, get anything done that's due, and then repeat that again and again for the rest of the week. I mean, it changes if we have meets and stuff. Like I might have to miss my last class, or I might not go to the gym if we have a meet, but our coach is pretty tough with us. So we have practice even when we have meets. So
Okay. So pretty full schedule. So was the in a way was the virtual structure a little bit easier for you because you didn't have to worry about the meets and like you could kind of really hone in on that?
yeah, it was easier for like in terms of commuting because I also walk to school, which it's a 30-minute walk, but I enjoy walking and I think of it as like more exercise. So I walking to school and then walking home and then going between class to class and having I feel like when you have a small break between classes, like 30 minutes, I try and get some work done, but it's really not enough work to get and not enough time to get a decent amount of work done. So now that you're at home and you don't have to worry about commuting between that time, it's easier to get things done in between classes. Pools have been closed, so I haven't been able to swim, which kind of sucks. But I also have time to do dry land and stuff, which is nice. And it kind of makes everything less stressed because before everything felt really chaotic. Now it's not as chaotic.
Okay. So in the fall, you're going to go get your PhD at the University of Connecticut. How did your time at Baruch prepare you for this?
I think my time at Baruch, like what helped the most from being a student athlete is the time management. grad school is going to be really hard. My classes are going to be really hard, and homework is going to take a lot longer and stuff like that. And I think that because of everything I was balancing at Baruch, like all my classes, swimming, going to the gym, that those time management skills are going to help a lot in grad school.
Okay, good. So what leadership skills did you pick up during your time with the Bearcats that you use now?
So I guess one would be like facilitating group work or teamwork. And I mean this in the sense that like I have one of the highest attendance rates on my team. So I'd always be at practice, and I'd be at our captain team practices, and I'd often help run those. And I think just the role I played on my team was I would help others, but not only in the pool, outside of the pool as well. So people would come to me for like looking at their CVs or helping them apply to jobs, to what classes should they take, and how to guide them outside of swimming as well as in swimming. So I guess if that kind of counts as leadership, I would kind of lead them in both the sport and outside of the sport. And I think this is going to help me too in the future, because I plan on either being a professor or a mentor to other young aspiring mathematicians. And like the practice I've had leading and helping my team will help me do that in the future.
So I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball here, but you kind of opened the door on this one. So your leadership style, how would you define it? You kind of touched upon it a little bit, but how would you define your style?
I guess I mean, it's hard to be the bad guy, like Patrick was saying. So I'm not really a bad guy, but I always talk to even people I'm leading. I don't make it feel like I'm the leader, I'm up here and everyone's down here. I make us all feel like we're at the same level, because at the end of the day, we're all teammates. So I make it so that we're all in this together and that we all have the same goal that we're working towards. And I kind of make it feel like we're figuring things out together. So I don't ever like tell people what to do specifically. I kind of explain to them why we should do this, I guess, if that makes sense.
No, definitely. And I think, Pat's speech talked about, there's multiple ways to lead a group, and, there's pros and cons to it. And, really finding your way that you can be a leader. And, some people are the rah, 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 let's go Bearcats, Baruch's the best. Or some people are the, hey, I'll help you with this, or let's meet up to work on this type of thing. So having said your style, what is the style that you leadership style that you respond to the best as an athlete? Probably
a little bit of both, because as an athlete, like I'm really good at following directions. So if my coach says, okay, I see me gonna do X, Y, Z, I'll do exactly X, Y, Z, and I'll like give it my all. But then there's certain times where if I'm trying to figure out a race strategy, for example, like, okay, my coach can tell me to try these different race strategies, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of the one along with him that has to figure out which one worked the best for me. So that's kind of where the like talking about it works, and like figuring things out instead of just being told what to do comes in. So I think I respond well to both. I think you definitely need a bit of that, the tough stuff. Like your coach needs to, if like you had a bad race, your coach needs to be like, that was bad, you need to work harder or something. But I've never had that problem, because I typically always work really hard. It's kind of the opposite. My coach is like, oh, Simina, you should, take this day off or something. So.
Okay. So you've got a ton of experience, both like professionally and academically. You interned at the New York Stock Exchange. You've traveled abroad to the best mathematical programs in the world. You've worked at different universities in the country, publishing your thesis. How important is it to have those experiences of traveling? I mean, I lived abroad for 10 years playing wheelchair basketball, and I think it was probably the best thing for me as far as learning how to relate to others, and then just being able to change my paradigm, right? You know, and not being so centric on one philosophy and different things. What about you?
Yeah, I think these experiences are invaluable. I mean, I'm really blessed to have been able to do all the stuff I've done, and they're experiences that I'll treasure for the rest of my life. I mean, and I worked at the New York Stock Exchange when I was, I think, 18 or 19. So being in that environment as a young woman is definitely crazy because there's really not any women there. So I got to get a taste of finance, which was nice, which will help guide me in the future of whether I liked it or not. Turns out it wasn't really for me. I wanted something that was a bit more intellectually challenging, and I wasn't really that interested in the markets, and they're unpredictable. So I was like, I'd rather do something that has more theory, and I really like math. So I kind of went away from that, and then I went to start looking for the research opportunities that I was able to pursue. I got to go to Oregon State University and Texas A&M to conduct math research, which was nice because at CUNY, you don't really get, well, I didn't dorm, I lived at home, so I haven't gotten the dorming experience or like exploring a huge campus in the middle of nowhere. So it was pretty cool to get that experience. But then again, it's like these experiences wouldn't have been possible without, you know, the help of CUNY. So there's that. I think studying abroad in Budapest was very interesting culturally because it's so different than anything I've experienced. And living there for 4 months was just awesome. And in terms of the math, it was a really, really hard program. There were pretty much all graduate level courses. And I mean, I was pushing my brain to new limits. I'd have class, the classes there were 2 hours. So I would have class in the morning, like 8 to 10. And I'd come home and take a nap before my next class because I was just so drained. It's so fast paced. So it was good to experience that as well and be pushed to new limits. And I think that it's really important to do extra things as an undergrad because I don't think it's enough to just do your classes. If you're a student athlete, that already counts as a bit something extra, but I think it's important to have even something else on top of that, which is hard to do because being a student athlete, you already have a lot to balance. But I just feel like, you know, when I started college, I was pretty much thinking about like my CV or my resume because that's when you have to start building it with like internships and all this extra stuff. So I think it's important to do that, but not just professionally, but also because it adds value to your life and all the things you've experienced. And CUNY also has a lot of resources. And I also wanted to mention because I go to Baruch, but I've also taken classes at Hunter College. I've e-permitted because I finished almost like all the math courses at Baruch my first 2 years. So then I started e-permitting courses at Hunter. And that's one of the great things about CUNY, that you're not just restricted to your college. You can e-permit classes at other CUNYs. And if there's an opportunity that's not available at your CUNY, you can try and do it at another CUNY, which is so awesome. It's like a whole big family of schools, which is great. And I think that other colleges don't have the privilege of that. So we're very lucky.
So just a kind of a fun question. Best place you traveled, your best travel story from these opportunities you've had?
That's hard. I guess. So in this past January, actually, I went to in Denver, Colorado, to present at the biggest math conference in the world, JMM, the Joint Math Meetings. It's at a different place every year. And this year was super nice because it was cold, but not too cold. And I got to see a bit of Colorado. And also my best friend from who I had done research with at Texas came. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like a girls trip, but also like a bunch of math. So it was really fun.
Like the best of both worlds for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty fun. Colorado's beautiful too. It's not like anything I've ever seen here on the East Coast.
What about abroad?
Abroad, in Budapest, I went to do a lot of sightseeing, like the Capitol and Buddha Hill and all these places. I guess I don't have any particular story, but I would go on walks. Like the whole Danube River runs, and there's like a bunch of different bridges. I think there's like five that I could have walked to. Um,
Mhm.
so I would often go and like walk down on one bridge, then walk up to the next and walk across the other and just keep going. And they have this thing called Margaret's Island, which is, I think it's a 5 kilometer loop. So I would try running that a few times, um, which was nice. Yeah, I don't have any fun stories though. The program was really hard. All I honestly did was math. I did not have that much time for fun things.
Gotcha. Let me get a couple more questions and then we'll let you go. But thank you for sharing your story here. So you had a great relationship with your head coach, Lampasso. How important is it to build those foundations, not only with your teammates, but your coaches as well?
I think it's really important. I think your relationship with your coach is super important because he's the one who's training you, so he should know you best. I mean, it's one thing for your coach to watch you come to practice, swim, or do whatever you do and then go, and it's another thing for him to watch you train and know what's going on in your life, because things that happen in our life affect the way we perform at practice, at meets, like competitions. So I always keep my coach updated with what I'm doing outside of the pool. And it's also nice because my coach really cares. And I'm sure that most coaches really care about their athletes and what's going on in their lives. So it's an easy conversation to have, really. You're not like going that much out of your way to say, hey, coach, or blah, blah, blah. And I kind of think as coach as like the parent, and my team is a family. So you want to have your coach, I mean, your coach cares. That's like the big thing. And I care about my coach too. And I think that he does so much for the team and he cares so much. And you can tell by the way he coaches us in our dry lands and stuff. So it's nice and important to have that close relationship too with him.
Great. All right. So one last question. So assuming that we are able to get back to a situation where people can get to a normal practice routine, so the vast majority of your time at Baruch, what would be the advice you give to future and current student athletes on balancing studying, practices, and having a personal life and enjoying college?
So I didn't have much of a personal life. I never got to go to any parties or really hang out much or anything, but that was like a decision I made. I decided to dedicate all my time to my studies and practice, like swimming and school. So I think that the little free time I have, I would spend with my family. But I guess if you're a student athlete, you have to remember to balance both. Like, you're not just a student and you're not just an athlete. You also have a personal life as well that you want to take into account. The way I kind of decided to dedicate my time was on what I wanted to prioritize and what I wanted, like what my goals were. And I wanted to be, the best I could in math so I can apply to grad school. And then I also wanted to, be one of the best swimmers in CUNY. So I spent a lot of time practicing and studying. But I think what helps is having an academic goal and having an athletic goal. And then you should make lists of the steps that you want or that you need to do to achieve each goal. So for swimming, sometimes it'd be throwing in an extra swim practice or going to spend an extra hour in the gym, setting times that I want to hit at each meet. For a school, it would kind of be like, oh, I need to take these courses, I need to write an honors thesis, and then figuring out, what I need to do to achieve that. And then if you also have a personal life too, I mean, you want to set time aside for that as well. But then there also comes a time where you have to make sacrifices, and then you kind of have to prioritize what you want to sacrifice. And that's personal for everyone. So I can't really tell you what to sacrifice. For me, it was the personal life. but then also school and swimming take up a lot of time. So there would be times where I'd have to say, okay, I might actually have to miss this meet to go to a conference or miss this conference to go to a meet. And that's kind of stuff you figure out on your own. But the other thing I do want to say is whenever you're doing something, whether it's for school or your sport or anything, give it 100%. Like, don't waste your own time. When you go to practice, you're in practice. You're going to focus on what you're doing there. Don't think about school. Don't think about personal life. Just do your sport. When you're in class, just focus on class. It's hard, but then it makes everything worthwhile, because what's the point of, going to practice if you're not trying your hardest, or sitting in class if you're not going to pay attention? You honestly might as well not be in class then. So just give it your all no matter what you do.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story. Congratulations on all your successes. Scholar Athlete of the Year for 2020, and also CUNYAC's nominee for the NCAA Woman of the Year. So best of luck at UConn, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, so thank you, Asmina, for joining us and sharing your story. I'd like to invite Lamarana to jump on and share with us about his story as a student athlete here at CUNY. Lamarana, how are you doing?
Good, and yourself, Patrick?
Good. You got, what did you think of Pat?
Say that again?
What did you think of Pat, his story?
It's really impressive, to see where he's coming from, and how far he get to. So it's really impressive. And I think, as long as you don't give up, you push yourself, I think it's there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm really impressed. And I wish him best of luck.
Great. So Lamarana, I'm going to give a kind of a brief background for all of our student athletes who are on this call, and then we'll just jump into some Q&A, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so Lamarana is a sophomore forward for the Borough Manhattan Community College men's soccer team, was tabbed the 2019-2020 City University of New York Athletic Conference Scholar Athlete of the Year. Lamarana is an international student from Senegal, Africa, came to the United States alone, not knowing the language or anyone in the country, losing his father in 2010 and never being separated from his mother. It was a difficult transition that took him 8 months to prepare for. You recently graduated with an Associate of Science degree in mathematics with a 3.64 GPA, achieving the Dean's List during his time at BMCC. You said, "I love the agricultural and diversity here at BMCC. They have an amazing athletic department. They have everything I need in their facility, a huge pool, fantastic gym, and of course their soccer team." So let's just jump right into it. An amazing story. Let's start with this. What made you choose CUNY in BMCC from all the way from Senegal?
Yes, so I had this contact person over here. He's an alumni of CUNY, and he just recommended me. So when I apply in CUNY, I get accepted at Hunter College to take English classes, of course, because I'm coming from like a French-speaking country, Senegal. So I knew like a little of English, like almost nothing when I came over. And then I went to Hunter College for like 8 months studying English. So when I came here, I have a goal in my mind. So I knew I'm not coming here to play, I'm coming here to study, and I have to achieve those goals. So I had to push myself because, knowing that I had no knowledge of English, and without English, I wasn't be able to pursue my degree and achieve much more. So I attended Hunter College, I tried my best, and within 8 months, I was able to write, read, and speak English, and then applied for a degree, and then that's how I end up going to BMCC. I was accepted in a few colleges, but I ended up going to BMCC because, you know, because of its location and its diversity and its resources.
Great. So as an international student, what challenges did you face coming from Senegal, Africa, to coming here to the US? And what advice can you give other students, international students that may face similar obstacles?
Yeah, very challenging. To be an international student is really challenging in this country. You know, first, like the financial burden, and then second, if like you never travel to such like a big city, New York City, when you come, like all those changes, the environment, the people, you know, how they interact, how they talk, and especially if you don't speak the language, it's like it's really challenging. But you know, most of international students sometimes what they feel like, sometimes they feel lonely, especially when they come over. They don't have like a lot of friends, and sometimes it's not easy to make friends when you don't speak the language. So that's one thing like most of like international students struggle with. And then you know, and the culture like barriers that you might have, you know, some people just in their culture it's not easy to open up and ask for help. So that's also one thing like some international students might struggle within their time in here. But for me, things that helped me when I came, you know, I started at BMCC, so I was lucky, and then I knew what I want. I started with like the end in my mind. So I knew I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna go for my degree, and my end goal was to at least, you know, graduate, have my associate with at least a 3.5 GPA, which I did. And I was planning, you know, to take on, to challenge myself, you know, to put myself out there, to connect with people and to learn as much as I can, learn the culture, learn the system, and, you know, to be able to adapt and pursue my degree. So my advice to international students is, you know, to put themselves out there, to set goals for themselves. It's true that, you know, the financial burden is there, but, you know, I think CUNY has like a lot of resources. They offer, some of the colleges offer scholarship. So once you like go seek for help, you know, you utilize yourself with those resources. I'm pretty sure there's like a lot of people in CUNY out there willing to help or willing to support, and that can support you and help you because the resources is out there. You just have to connect yourself, or, you know, connect yourself to somebody who knows how to get those resources to help you succeed. So what I did is I take on like in different roles, you know, I connect with the BMCC community, and then I take on in some leadership like roles, and those help me a lot, you know, to grow, you know, to foster my skills and to have some like personal skills, like some transferable skills that I can take with me wherever I go. So for international students, what I would say is, you know, it's not just the school's gonna be a part of, you know, your family, but you have to be willing to do that, you know, to share your story and, you know, listen to others and care for them. And I think in return, people are gonna care for you, and they're gonna listen to you, and they're gonna guide you, seek for guidance.
Great. So BMCC's slogan is "Start here, go anywhere." What are some of the opportunities BMCC offers the future and current students that they should take advantage of?
I think there's so many resources. I would start with, for me, as a soccer lover, the soccer team, like the athletic thing. So that really helped me because in times of, uncertainty, sometimes you get really busy. It's like school after school, and then you have to do your homework, or if you have any work, you have to go to work. So for me, being part of the soccer team was something that really helped me a lot. It was a way for me, to get away from a little bit, to advertise myself a little bit, just to disconnect and just connect with the team members, sort of like have fun, and then pursue our goal, which is like winning trophy. And beside the athletic side, they have like research opportunities, which I took advantage of. They have like the sister program, which I was part of. It's it allows you to sharpen your mind by, they introduce you to ways of doing research before you go to graduate school. So at least you know how to conduct research and in any domain you would like to. So it was really a good experience for me. And I was able to present my research work in the BMCC symposium, which is really good. You have people from CUNY and people who did like research. They come to see your work, ask questions, and all those things help you in your academic and into your personal life, because you learn how to present your work, you learn how to present yourself into others. And they also have like a lot of leadership like opportunity when it comes to clubs. BNCC have like a lot of clubs where you can take, part of, learn, connect with people from all over the world with different background, different culture, different languages. So it's really like rewarding to take advantage of those leadership positions. And the environment. So there was like the gym, those resources. They also have like tutoring. They have like a math lab. They have all those labs where you could conduct your research. So all those things, I think the resources are out there. So you just have to, utilize yourself and take advantage, and to help you succeed.
Great, thank you for all that information. So last season, you and your Panther teammates won the men's CUNYAC soccer championship. What advice can you give to the student athletes who are trying to achieve that same goal, to reach the pinnacle there?
Well, I think, first thing first, I would say is like self-discipline, in whatever you're doing. First of all, you have to, discipline yourself and have goals, have an end goal in what you do. Sure, sometimes even for having fun, if your goal is to have fun, then when you go out there, make sure, you have fun. And if your goal is to achieve or to win trophy or to connect or whatever the goal is, make sure you track that goal, and at the end you see, or at least you track the evolution of the goal, whether you walking toward the right direction or the wrong direction. So my advice to them is, to be able to manage their time, because when it comes to being a student athlete, it's not easy. You have your soccer practice. If you're taking 3 or 4 classes, you're being a full-time student. And you also have like other occupation, such as probably job or like family. All those things combined, if you don't practice your time management skills, it's going to be really challenging. So one thing to do, my advice is to manage their time well, and know that, sometimes being in the field, working out is something that you can relate when you're in a class, even you're studying at the same time because it helps you. You know, being a student athlete, it should reflect into your academic because you learn not to give up. You learn to push yourself, beyond the limit. When you go out there in the field, you're playing soccer, and you learn, to trust other people, to ask for help, because in the field, if you don't trust your teammate, it's like there's no way for you to take a ball, passes, because you don't trust them. You feel like if you give them the ball, they're going to lose it. So you build trust. And once you build trust, it make it easy for you to seek for help and get that help, to achieve your goals. So my advice is to seek for help and to learn how to manage their time and to have self-discipline.
So Lamarana, that's a great answer, and it kind of leads to my final question. But so you talked about some advice towards reaching the pinnacle, winning a team championship. What would be some of your advice that you would offer current students or future students on balancing things, so balancing your schoolwork to your practices and then having a personal life and all those sort of things? What would be some of your advice that you would share with students?
Yeah, I think, do one thing at a time. That's one thing that I do. If I'm in class, I focus in class and I make sure, I understand the content. If I don't, right after class, I, figure out, what are the resources out there that can help me, to fill the gap between the classes. That's one thing that I do. And for, upcoming athlete, it's like, just, be like humble. And sure, there's going to be up and downs. Sometimes you're going to feel like, I can do it. I can do this. It's just too much. And you'll be tempted to give up or get away from it. But, always to have to reflect, have those moments for yourself, sit down, think about it and to strategize, and prioritize. Because when you're doing a lot of things at the same time, if you don't prioritize, you're going to miss other things, because by the time you finish this one, you get to the other thing, it's already late to do that. So my advice is to prioritize and, to always find something, that can keep them motivated, because self-motivation is something that is really important when you're juggling from, being a student athlete and, being a leader in your campus. So those things, I think, helps me a lot to be where I am today.
Great. Lamarana, I want to congratulate you on all your successes and thank you for sharing your story with our student athletes. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right. For our student athletes, you've had a great chance to hear from two of your own, Lamarana and Asmina. Now I'd like to invite Joseph Adawaji, a friend and colleague. Joseph is the Assistant Director for External Relations and Compliance. Joe, take it away.
Thanks, Ryan, and good morning to everyone, all the student athletes. It's a pleasure, especially in this pandemic, for us to be able to get this done in a virtual sense. You've heard from Patrick, you've heard from Asimina, you've heard from Lamarana, and because of that, I won't take much of your time. I was once, a few years ago, right in the position which you are in. I was a student athlete at Brooklyn College. I got the opportunity to play soccer, and it's something that led me to the family, led me to who I am today, made me to understand what it is to be a student athlete. And not just that, I learned a lot. My leadership skills, most of that came from being on the soccer field, playing soccer with my teammates. So I would quickly just, because this is a SAAC event, I would quickly just jump in quickly enough to let you know that it's very important to be and make sure that if your campus SAAC is not up and running and active, do your best as if you can to get that program up and running. And the reason why it's very important that your campus SAAC is up and running in the way it should is that it helps. Your voice really do matter when it comes to the leadership, when it comes to athletics. Your voice do matter because at the end of the day, you make the program what it is. With you being on the pitch, with you being on the basketball court, with you being in the pool, with you being, playing baseball, all the sports that your campus do partake in, your voice and your participation makes the program what it is. So therefore, the leadership would love to hear from you. And that is why being part of your campus SAAC, not just joining a campus SAAC, but be an active member. Have a role to play a role within that, because at the end of the day, you can bring change in that department. Another point I would like to make is that if there's anything that you find and your colleagues find that is going on the way that you all do not agree to, your first and foremost thing is that you do have a SAAC advisor. Reach out to your SAAC advisor. Have the discussion with the SAAC advisor. That will be relayed to the leadership. If you notice nothing is being done, you have that open door policy to your leadership. Reach out to them. But do not make that mistake of first going out of that realm and confining an outside organization regarding what's bothering your athletic department. Because at the end of the day, they will not understand our program better than the leadership and yourself. So always do reach out to them first to let them know what's going on, what is the issues that you all are facing, be the voice of your colleagues, and let them understand. They will reach out to you because guess what? They want to see you succeed. And if you listen to it, leadership comes from above, and they will not want you to fail because it looks bad on them at the end of the day. Another thing you got to keep in mind is that make sure that once you're an active member, not just an active member playing sports, be a part of the campus community as well. And one important place that you want to be a part of is your student government. Yes, you may have difficulties, with the program, your athletic program. You reach out to your leadership and may tell you that we do not have the funding to go forth. That doesn't close the door. Your voice and part of student government makes a big difference because most of the funding sources that comes for CUNYAC athletics or come from the student activity fees that you all pay into. So therefore, by being part of your student government, you can then, have a discussion with the university as a whole and shift resources to where it may be. And there may be part that the athletics program may need a resource. So just do not be an athlete, go to class, but be a serious part of your student government because that is where the voice and the change really happens as well. And be a family amongst yourself. I gain a family just by being on the field. One, like Lamarana said, I came from Africa, Ghana, and knew no one. That soccer team became a family. And now to this day, we speak virtually. We have every week, we have a day that we speak. You will have family. And with this pandemic, go across the aisle. You are a soccer player, get to know the basketball team, get to know the fencing team, get to know the wrestling team, get to know the other teams, members that you have. Build that family and build that collaborator because at the end of the day, you are not an island. And as been said previously by the other speakers, you will need someone to be there for you. Someone that you can speak to, call on to, hey, I'm having difficulty with this program, with this class. Can you help? It may be someone on the basketball team or someone on the swim team who can help. It may not be that person on your soccer team or so try and then reach across the aisle. And lastly, please do your best. Keep focused. Stay in shape. Continue what you do because this pandemic too shall pass. And there will be a time that you will get back out there ready to play and you don't want to be out of shape. Believe me, I know all about it. When you're out of shape, you cannot perform the way you want to. You'll be benched and you don't want that. Stay in shape, stay focused. And at the end of the day, speak to your advisors, speak to your leadership. They will be there for you. And just so you know, keep your head high. this too shall pass. Thanks, Ryan.
That concludes our time for today with the CUNY Athletic Conference Student Athletic Advisory Council webinar. I want to thank HSS, Hospital for Special Surgery, for their sponsorship of this event, as well as I want to remind our student athletes, the Hospital for Special Surgery's 30-day fitness challenge. As well, if you've missed any of our other CUNYAC Talk About It Tuesdays, you can find that on social media, CUNYAC social media, on our website, and you can get some more information and some more support. So once again, thank you to all of our students for jumping on. Thank you to Pat. Thank you to Asmina. Thank you to Lamarana. And thank you, Joe. Take care and be well.